Tonight, slashed services.
We know that, people are outside and there's not other places to go to.
The impact in OEV as Ark Aid Street Mission cuts back daytime drop-ins. Plus, scooting into danger.
Look at the damage we see between two vehicles colliding, let alone someone who's on a scooter.
A police warning after a rider was spotted on a southwestern Ontario highway. And sifting through the sand.
It would be fantastic to see these elsewhere. Plastic pollution is a huge, complex issue.
This beach combing robot cleaning up the Port Burwell shoreline.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight in the Old East Village and the impact from slashed services at Ark Aid Street Mission. The shelter's bridge funding has run out, meaning daytime drop-in hours have to be reduced. As Daryl Newcomb reports, that hasn't left clients with many alternatives.
Desperation in every direction on Dundas Street as London's homelessness crisis appears to have surged in recent days. While inside Ark Aid Street Mission, up to 70 drop-in shelter spaces sit empty.
We just simply don't have the funding to keep the doors open as much as we would like to.
The Ark now opens for 4 hours most days, sometimes longer, depending entirely on donations and volunteers. When it is open, Londoners receive basic needs like food, water, and clothing, plus access to bathrooms, showers, and laundry.
With over 400 people coming through these doors for services on an average weekday and weekend, we know that, people are outside and there's not other places to go to. We also know that the businesses in this area are really suffering with the difficulty. The neighbors have to find ways of supporting people best as they can with nowhere to send people.
On March 31st, funding from the federal Unsheltered Homelessness and Encampments Initiative expired. The next day, additional federal funds were announced, but the timeline was uncertain. So City Hall provided $350,000 of bridge funding for frontline services until July 31st. It was just last week that the federal government announced London would be receiving $2.5 million in UHEI funding. However, a lot of that money has already been spoken for.
Where can the funding come to stabilize these services?
On Monday, a council committee recommended using $2.1 million for the upcoming winter response to homelessness, and most of the remainder, $350,000, to replenish the reserve fund that supplied the previous bridge funding. Financial support for daytime drop-in at the Ark remains uncertain.
I don't want to be presumptuous to say, let's just continue to extend the previous services that were funded under UHEI, but let's actually have staff do the work of looking at what is necessary in the system, how we would properly procure that under a transparent and fair process.
I'm hoping that they will actually direct civic administration to find more funds to support these types of services in a meaningful way until the full procurement framework can be brought forward.
City Council meets to discuss the issue on August 25th. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Blue Water municipal councillors have voted unanimously blocking an underground energy storage project near Bayfield. The vote was confirmed at a special council meeting last night. Neighbour opposition had mounted in recent weeks, pushing back on the proposal to build over more than 120 acres of farmland. The project would have pulled overnight energy from the grid, stored it in underground caverns, then returned it to the grid during high daytime demand.
There is quite a few in just this part of southwestern Ontario, and there is a map showing where these are and where these energy companies and corporations of private investors can come in to propose a project to the IESO to do that. And there has been some in the past. There was one proposed in 2017, not long ago, to a neighboring area, and they chose against it.
Good evening, I'm Rita Ismail. It was a gorgeous day, lots of sunshine, a great day for the beach. Our temperature hit a daytime high of 28, but felt about 32. Now, as we head into the weekend, we have some sunshine and a little bit of rainfall. We are under high pressure this evening, which means clear, comfortable conditions into the night. Heading into tomorrow And then into Sunday, there is this weak low pressure system that we are tracking. It is going to edge its way over southwestern Ontario just in time for your Sunday afternoon plans. I'll have the timing coming up a little later in the show. Carlyle?
Thank you, Rita. A London woman wants stricter enforcement on off-road motorbikes using city pathways and sidewalks. She says someone riding one of those bikes ran her over recently, sending her to hospital. With more, here's Brian Bicknell.
Christina Cook is home recovering from several injuries: a cracked vertebrae, a concussion, sprained shoulder, scrapes, bruises, and road rash. The result of what she says was a hit and run with a motorized off-road bike.
And it was going very, very fast. So there was no time for me to swerve or brake or do anything, unclip myself from my bike, do anything. And there was no room as well to either dodge each other because of the construction that's going on.
The triathlete was on her way to train at nearby Meadow Lily when she took her bike across the Commissioner's Overpass at Highbury heading east. She says she used the sidewalk to avoid road construction. That's when the collision happened. She faded in and out of consciousness before coming to in hospital emerge.
I think I just started going over and over in a loop of just kind of what could have happened. I have two young boys. They're 4 and 3, and just kind of like all that could have happened, right? That I could have gone, like I said, over into, over the bridge onto Highbury. I could have gone into traffic and someone could have hit me.
The location itself is very much an active work site with heavy traffic from morning until night. Road users of all kinds having to navigate around this construction. Christina's husband, Hayden Cook, says he contacted police but claims they initially refused to investigate.
It just feels horrible. It feels like, you're on your own, right? They tell you to do the footwork, to do the investigating yourself.
He says police finally did take a statement, but only after being contacted by CTV News about the allegations.
In this case, I know there was a bit of a delay that we're sorting through.
Police Superintendent Bill Berg says the type of bike described in the crash would not be legal.
No, that's not allowed, so that would be completely illegal. So we will make every effort to track down the operator of that vehicle, and sometimes that'll mean we'll spend some extra time in that location to see if that is a problem with other types of vehicles like that.
As for Christina Cook, she hasn't looked at her bike since the crash. Doesn't know if she'll even ride again after her painful ordeal.
Luckily, I'm active and physically fit. That probably saved me, right? What if it was someone in a wheelchair on the sidewalk? What if it was someone in a walker? What if it was a child? Luckily it was me, and luckily I didn't end up in the road. Right? But what does it take?
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Police in the Kitchener area are issuing a warning after someone was spotted riding an e-scooter on a highway. As Hannah Schmidt reports, there are rules for where those modes of transportation are allowed.
It's a shocking sight. An e-scooter rider weaving in and out of traffic on Highway 78 in the Ottawa Street area of Kitchener. Waterloo Regional Police sharing this video, saying the rider was traveling at an excessive speed on the expressway. It's a dangerous act and one that could have devastating consequences.
You can see that there's hardly any protection, right? When you're someone who's, that's why, again, pedestrians aren't allowed on highways. Look at the damage we see between two vehicles colliding, the damage that can cause people inside, let alone someone who's on a scooter who doesn't have any protection on them whatsoever.
Ontario's e-scooter pilot program allows municipalities to decide where and how e-scooters can be used. The provincial rules set a maximum speed of 24 kilometers an hour, but riders are not allowed to drive on highways and are encouraged to use bike lanes.
E-scooters are designed for a very localized, limited use. And, I think what we see as an example in the video that was released, someone is doing general not safe habits or practices.
An e-scooter doesn't have the same protection or visibility as a vehicle. And when a rider weaves between vehicles, drivers may not have much time to react.
The other people around are probably thinking, what is going on? This person's not supposed to be here. So that causes a risk in itself because people tend to, they're in shock a little bit. It takes a second to process.
And this isn't just about what happens on the highway. Waterloo Region has seen more people using electric bikes and scooters, and local health data shows the potential consequences of incidents involving them. There were 145 visits related to falls involving e-scooters, e-bikes, and other motorized devices at the Waterloo Regional Health Network's emergency department during an annual period between 2025 and 2026.
It's gone crazy. It's gone crazy. It's like when I see 9-10-year-olds, 2 people on it, just going in and out, no helmet.
We've heard this from Sunnybrook Hospital, also in Toronto, but also operating a trauma center, that there's an increase in the number of injuries that they're seeing on people, severe injuries.
Provincial rules indicate riders must be at least 16 years old, passengers aren't allowed, and those under 18 have to wear a bicycle helmet. The pilot program runs through November 2029.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You have a responsibility to know what the rules are and to follow them.
Hannah Schmidt, CTV News.
London police say they've impounded 5 vehicles connected to a large car rally in the city's South End back in May. They say dozens of charges have been laid, including dangerous driving and stunt driving.
They look at the totality of the incident, and when they examine the vehicles and they look at modifications that are not properly done on the vehicles. In this case, license plates were seized and basically seized until such time as the vehicle's made roadworthy again. So it's another reminder that when you do things like change out the exhaust or tint your windows or put aftermarket tires or rims on a vehicle, you have to make sure that it's legal to do so and that the vehicle is still roadworthy after you do that.
London police say one person was injured in a crash involving an OPP cruiser early this morning. Police say it happened around 12:30 a.m. at Adelaide and Central, and the officer involved was not injured. Middlesex OPP say they're investigating after numerous vehicles in Ailsa Craig were tampered with. According to police, they received several complaints earlier this week reporting wheels with missing lug nuts. They say 2 people were seen on surveillance footage loosening wheel nuts, and they're urging residents to check their tires before driving. The number of campsites at Pinery Provincial Park has been reduced. It's part of an environmental protection project which could further reduce those campsites in the future. With more, here's Jerry Dewan.
Through the trees and brush in Pinery Provincial Park can be found numerous tents and trailers, people finding their own little oasis in nature. When Jeff Schlemmer arrived for a camping weekend in the spring, he discovered a change.
I arrived, as I always do, to camp on the May 2-4 weekend and quickly noticed that 91 campsites had been demolished in the Burley campground where we normally camp. So that was pretty surprising.
After investigating further, he learned another 200 sites could be lost in coming years to create more natural environments.
Naturalists in the park would like to convert as much of the park as possible to what they call oak savanna. And that's not a bad idea, but it is also a park that is designated for recreation and camping, and so they have to share the park.
Work has begun creating new trails and filling in spots where campsites once existed.
Stummer says he doesn't take issue with protecting more environmentally sensitive areas, but he says a coordinated approach was needed to find spaces in less sensitive areas for campers.
He says the goal should be to create a better way to allow people to connect with the environment that the naturalists are preserving.
And I can tell you, there's nothing I like better than waking up on my tent at Pinery and hearing happy children playing with relaxed parents who are not working, and they're able to spend some quality time together. And I think that's, among the most important formative influences for our kids.
I think we need to bring the numbers down.
Robin Reimer is from the Hockley Valley area and says she's stayed at parks throughout the province. She supports fewer campsites at the Pinery.
We need to bring our nature back. We need to bring our forestry back. It's time. It's overpopulated here.
Slummer says the notification process for the change has also been an issue. He says the 45-day window for public submissions wasn't widely publicized and closes Monday. He believes a public input meeting should have been part of the process. At Pinery Provincial Park, Jerry Dewan, CTV News.
A food bank in Elsa Craig is getting an inventory boost thanks to a donation from Ontario chicken farmers. With more on the contribution and its potential impact, here's Lauren Stallone.
A major donation in Elsa Craig. Chicken farmers of Ontario are donating over 3,000 meals worth of poultry to the local food bank.
It's great to be able to fill some of the freezers and have that to work away at with our clients and be able to provide some good quality fresh meat.
Mark Isaac with the Elsa Craig Food Bank says the demand for food bank services is on the rise.
It would be at least probably 35 to 40% increase at least.
There seems to be more and more people in need, and it's a way for us as producers to help meet that need in conjunction with the local food banks as well.
MPP Steve Pinsonneau says events like this are an important way to help people who are struggling with the rising cost of living.
This community could be a pioneer for how it should be done. They're doing it right. They're helping people.
Farmers in the region say donations like this highlight the importance of Canadian chicken and the role it plays in feeding communities.
Our industry is growing. Chicken is the #1 protein of choice in Canada because of its health benefits and the fact that it's lean.
Through past years, we had very little meat to give out, but thankfully, especially through the pandemic, there was a real change in what was made available to us.
CFO helps to ensure Ontario food banks can access protein without barriers.
It began in 2015, and we give over 1 million individual meals per year.
Lauren Stallone, CTV News.
A robot has been combing the Port Burwell beach, sifting through the sand, removing microplastics and other debris. With more on that project, here's Sean Irvin.
It may not move quickly, but what it collects both above and below the surface reveals how much humans have left behind. This beach bot, or B-bot for short, is a first of its kind to Canada. With each pass of the sand, the remotely controlled device picks up plenty of things the human eye or a rake might miss.
A lot of interesting materials. So the #1 find for us is definitely a lot of cigarette butts. #2 is a lot of bottle caps. But we've also found plastic retainers, a lot of tent rods, as well as cigarette lighters, and a lot of different microplastics as well.
The robot is funded by Pollution Probe, an environmental agency that until now has focused on sifting debris from the water. With the B-bot, it's now discovering what lies beneath the sand. First rolled onto an Ontario beach in the GTA, it found 33,000 pieces of litter over the summer. It's now touring other areas of the province, including spending several weeks in Port Burwell.
It would be fantastic to see these elsewhere, and we'd love to have them across the country. I think plastic pollution is a huge, complex issue, and it differs very much location to location.
While the B-bot collects the debris, volunteers are still needed to sift through what it finds. On this day, members of London area Rotary clubs stepped up as part of their mission to improve the environment.
We need to have people aware when they see a plastic bottle on the street that it's going down the sewer, goes into the river, goes into the next river, goes into the next lake.
Data collected on the beach here will become part of a report measuring the impact of microplastics along the Great Lakes shoreline in both Canada and the United States. It's expected the numbers will only prove what many of us already know, that people need to do better.
They do need to do better. We need to try to keep the environment as clean as possible so that we can keep the earth going.
In Port Burwell, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
A cyclist who lives in Sarnia is biking hundreds of kilometers through Midwestern Ontario all the way to his hometown in Wigham. With more on his ride and the cause he's raising money for, here's Scott Miller.
Brad Burton is about halfway through his Ride the Midwest journey, pedaling his way across southwestern Ontario.
Living in Sarnia, being from Wigham and driving up and down Lake Huron all the time, I just thought what kind of better way to kind of enjoy the rural Ontario than to be on the bike. And it went from an idea of just essentially being a ride to putting a purpose to it with supporting the Wingham and District Hospital Foundation.
Burton will bike more than 500 kilometers over 4 days, hitting Sarnia, Sauble Beach, Listowel, and ending in Wingham this Sunday. His goal, to raise as much money as he can for the hospital that cared for his father during his final days.
That's just immediate, but like my grandparents moved up to Wingham, and they both used care in the hospital. My aunt and uncle then moved into their residence. Same idea, they both had to endure a lot of things, and the hospital was always there for them. And
Burton will cover over 125 kilometers each day. During training, the most he biked in one day was 95K.
It's kind of a little bit of that mental, kind of the question marks that are in your head, that you start to focus on little issues like your knee or your neck, and kind of can play a factor into everything. But today's been great. Obviously, the sun's nice once again. A little bit of a north wind would be nice to switch directions, but so far, so good.
He's raised a little more than $3,000 so far towards keeping small-town healthcare viable in Wingham and area.
We need those people that are in close proximity to help out, and that's kind of the driving goal behind this whole thing.
Near Ripley, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Coming up, a trade talk update. Federal officials briefing the provinces ahead of a tariff deadline. Plus, a Canadian veteran challenging military policy, banning recruits with HIV.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
Welcome back. Canada's Trade Minister provided an update today to his provincial counterparts, as the Canada-America Business Council as well, with just days to go until a new round of U.S. tariffs kicks in. With the latest from Washington, here's Mike Lecouture.
Less than a week before the August 19th deadline, CTV News has learned that the proposed deal between Canada and the U.S. does not include a reduction of tariffs on softwood lumber. Sources are also telling us that the U.S. side wants American alcohol to return to provincial store shelves immediately after the deal is signed. CTV News has spoken to one source on the Canadian side and one on the American side, and both have knowledge of what is happening at the negotiating table. 8 of 10 provinces have removed U.S. booze from their store shelves in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's ongoing trade threats. According to our sources, it has been the largest irritant on the American side. We're also hearing that the U.S. wanted to see the removal of Canadian counter tariffs on American autos, which were implemented as a response to the American sectoral tariffs. All of this is coming as Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and lead trade negotiator Janice Charette have been briefing the Prime Minister's Advisory Committee on Canada-U.S. Economic Relations. The Canadian negotiators have also briefed their provincial counterparts. Now, ahead of that briefing, BC Premier David Eby clearly laid out that any deal must include a reduction of tariffs for lumber.
The softwood lumber sector is bigger than auto parts and steel combined in terms of the Canadian economy. And it needs to be front and center at the table.
Sources are also telling CTV News that Greer intends to put the framework of a deal on President Trump's desk as early as Monday. Greer has also told multiple officials that everything will hinge on the president's mood when he's presented with that proposal. Mike Lecouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
A Canadian veteran is taking our country's military to court, challenging the constitutionality of policies banning new recruits who are living with HIV. With more on those allegations, here's Rachel Aiello.
JB, whose identity CTV News has agreed to protect, served in active duty with the Canadian Armed Forces for 13 years. 5 years in, he was diagnosed by a military doctor with HIV. He began taking medication and continued serving for 8 more years, including deploying on a peacekeeping mission to Mali in 2019.
Living with HIV never made me feel different from the colleagues that I was serving with.
But after a voluntary release to pursue other career opportunities, JB tried to rejoin as a reservist in 2024 and was denied.
And I was shocked when I received the rejection letter.
That letter from the recruiting medical office explicitly cited his HIV status, stating that because of this, he did not meet the military's enrollment standards.
My diagnosis seems to carry more weight than the record I already built in uniform.
The 38-year-old is now taking the Canadian military to court, challenging the constitutionality of their policies that list HIV as grounds for disqualification.
To deny carte blanche folks who are living with HIV just because they're living with HIV, it's discrimination.
JB's lawyers argue applicants shouldn't be rejected based on outdated stigma. They hope the challenge will prompt the armed forces to re-examine their rules.
From our perspective, both the science, the logistics, and the operational concerns have been addressed by other NATO countries.
JB says he thinks this case could benefit all Canadians given the military's recruitment struggles, but hopes others living with HIV hear this message.
Don't let an HIV diagnosis convince you that you have less to offer your country.
CTV News asked both the Canadian Armed Forces and Defence Minister David McGuinty for comment on the court challenge and the policies at the centre of it. Neither responded by deadline. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
And Rita's on the desk with me now, handling the forecast for us tonight. And Rita, we're starting off the weekend pretty pleasantly. I know there's a chance of rain at some point this weekend, but so far so good.
You got it. Yeah, beautiful day today. Lots of sunshine tomorrow, but there is a little bit of rainfall for Sunday. Again, not a complete washout, but something to keep in mind, especially for those outdoor activities, the plans, the barbecues on Sunday. You will need to have an indoor plan. 28 degrees are high today, a couple of degrees warmer than what's normal for this time of year. And if you factored in the humidity, it actually felt about 33 late in the afternoon. Overnight low at 15. A record 34 degrees back in 1944. Record low 7 in 1964. Our sunset tonight at 8:22. It'll be a beautiful evening to catch that sunset. Nice light breeze out of the north, about 10 kilometers per hour. We are tracking a couple of weather makers. We were under high pressure today, and we'll hold on to that for tomorrow morning. But as we head into late day Saturday, we'll see the clouds start to increase. There is this low pressure system, and it is slowly going to edge over southwestern Ontario. What that means for us is rainfall. It is not an all-day rain event, and it is certainly not going to be widespread. But as it moves through, we will start to see clouds build Saturday evening, and then there is a chance for some embedded thunderstorm activity Sunday afternoon, because our high for Sunday will be 28. There'll be a little bit of humidity, and that is, of course, the perfect recipe for some thunderstorms to develop, especially throughout Midwestern Ontario. The bulk of this activity happening between noon and 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then we're expecting this system to push out, making way for a mix of sun and cloud late day Sunday. Now, in terms of sunshine for tomorrow, it will be great this evening. Again, calm, comfortable conditions. And then tomorrow, 15 degrees, starting the day off with blue skies. Heading into the afternoon, nice mix of sun and cloud, light winds. They'll shift, though. They'll be out of the east in advance of that system, 15 kilometers per hour. And then that cloud cover pushing through around supper hour tomorrow. Now, tomorrow's daytime high, only 23 degrees. That is a few degrees below what's normal. Then we climb right back up for Sunday. And, of course, again, scattered showers, not an all-day rain event. Sunday between noon and 4 is when we can expect some heavier rainfall, and then it'll move out. Monday, mostly cloudy, 25 degrees both Monday and Tuesday, but a little bit more sunshine for your Tuesday. Mix of sun and cloud to mainly cloudy conditions to close off a Thursday. We are expecting some showers to develop late day Friday. Midwestern Ontario, cool conditions in terms of your daytime high tomorrow, 23, especially along the shores of Lake Huron. Mix of sun and cloud, and then that scattered rainfall pushes through Sunday afternoon. A little bit more for you in terms of that time frame. We could see that shower activity linger throughout the evening on Sunday. And then Monday, mostly cloudy. Tuesday, wall-to-wall sunshine, 25 degrees. And then a little bit of a cool down, 22 degrees Wednesday through to Friday. Overall, not a bad forecast. And of course, I've already noticed our grass is a lot greener because of all the rainfall. So we'll take what we can get. And tomorrow it is looking quite nice. Carlyle?
Thanks very much, Rita. Still to come, festival fraud. The scammers pretending to represent organizers, convincing unassuming vendors to pay up.
Catch us on the iHeartRadio Pure Country Countdown this weekend, Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 4.
We check in with Garth Brooks, who is shouting out all of the ladies in country music, and find out what Kenny Chesney is working on.
CTV London and Pure Country 93 have your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Chris Stapleton when he brings the All-American Roadshow Tour to Rogers Stadium in Toronto on September 1st with Ashley McBride and Zach Topp. Enter now at ctvlondon.ca for your chance to win your way in.
Union leaders say Stellantis officials are considering closing down and selling their plant in Brampton. The Unifor National President says the union has received information from Stellantis about possible plans, but there's been no formal written notice of closure as required by a collective agreement at least 1 year in advance. Company officials have also indicated their intent to open discussions with another company about potentially selling the plant.
To say that we are disappointed would be an understatement. This is a gut punch to our union and to our members.
WestJet officials say they've agreed to pay $4.5 million settling a class action sexual harassment lawsuit. The suit was brought forward by flight attendants in 2016. According to the lead plaintiff and her lawyer, more than 3,000 flight attendants are involved. They say the airline's leaders failed to provide a safe workplace, stating in one instance a pilot sexually assaulted a flight attendant during a layover in 2010. WestJet officials issued a statement saying they are pleased to have reached a settlement. Organizers with small festivals in southwestern Ontario are warning local business owners beware of scams. They say fraudulent invitations are being distributed, asking for payment, but the senders have no affiliation with the actual event. With more, here's Krista Simpson.
Every year on the last Saturday of September, crowds flock to Wellesley for the Apple Butter and Cheese Festival. So when an email was sent to Silver Creek Nursery inviting the business to apply to be a vendor this year, they said yes and were sent a form that appeared to match the one on the event website.
The form was identical, other than there was a price discrepancy on the form. And then so when we inquired about that, they basically told us there was just two different rates depending on what type of vendor category you fall under. So it seemed legit.
But when they went to pay to secure a vendor spot.
So basically then we sent payment because everything kind of seemed legitimate, and luckily the bank caught it.
Turns out the email was one of a couple scams that have been targeting potential festival vendors. Some invited businesses to apply for a vendor booth. Others said approved vendors need to pay $248 for insurance that will be refunded later. Both emails are scams.
We're a community-based event that's completely run by volunteers, and it's just very frustrating that we have to deal with stuff like this.
Now organizers worry about what could happen on festival day if there's someone out there that thinks they purchased a vendor spot in this scam.
They're going to show up and we're not going to have room for them. Nor have they paid to be a vendor at our festival.
Festival organizers say the difficult thing is there's not much they could do to stop these scams other than make people aware that they're happening. It's a problem that's growing, with scammers impersonating anything from farmers markets to the Calgary Stampede. Over the last year, Kitchener's Christkindle Market has been targeted too, with local businesses receiving emails saying vendor spaces are limited or offering exclusive opportunities. Organizers there say if a communication seems questionable, don't hesitate to reach out to the city directly.
Anyone who's putting on an event is not going to be upset with somebody doing their due diligence, so slow down. Take a little bit of time and just confirm that, hey, I received this information. Is this actually accurate? Are you guys actually reaching out to me?
One of the immediate red flags would be the urgency to book now and provide payment now.
Waterloo Regional Police say scammers cast a wide net in these phishing schemes.
They will include a number of emails on it and hoping that someone clicks on it. It may be one individual, it may be 10 individuals, but fraudsters are looking for quick payment, and they will then move on to the next scam.
And while a couple $100 may not seem like much, Zach Muma says it would still be a blow for some businesses.
For a small business, it's a chunk of money, and it hurts if they would have actually lost it.
Krista Simpson, CTV News, Wellesley.
Stock markets in Toronto and New York closed out the week in the red after another economic report suggested a slowing U.S. economy. In Toronto, the TSX fell 29 points. In New York, the Dow lost 108. The Nasdaq dropped 74. The Canadian dollar was up today, gaining a third of a cent. On commodity markets, gold rose almost $17 an ounce. Oil added $1.50 a barrel. Still to come, continuing a booze boycott. Saskatchewan brought back U.S. alcohol, but there's been little interest in sales.
It's Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben in the morning.
3 awesome people that want to start your day or finish your overnight shift.
You'll laugh, you'll text, you'll call, you'll scratch your head, and maybe even beat Backstage Ben. Weekday mornings from 5:30 to 10.
Listen live on the iHeartRadio app or at 97.5 Virgin Radio.
There are reports out of Ottawa Conservative MPs are privately expressing concern about Pierre Poilievre's leadership. Caucus members have told CTV News they don't think Poilievre will be the party's leader when the next federal election is called. Those MPs were responding to questions about a recent Nanos poll commissioned by CTV News. The poll found respondents largely felt Prime Minister Mark Carney had no obvious challenger among Conservative politicians. The provincial government has announced $800,000 in funding for community sport and recreation programs. Government officials say the money should make sports more affordable and give young people more opportunities to stay active. $400,000 will go to Kids Sport Ontario. They say about 1,100 kids from low-income families will have their registration and equipment costs covered. $100,000 will go to the Inclusion in Canadian Sports Network for free swimming lessons, lifeguard training, and basketball reffing opportunities for young people in racialized communities. A $35 million investment was also announced, meant to help long-term care homes support residents with complex needs. Government officials say the money will buy specialized equipment as well as support staffing and services. They say this should reduce unnecessary emergency room visits and hospital stays. A young boy in Saskatoon is being recognized for his actions during an emergency. When he saw a home go up in flames, he made sure to let his neighbors know, allowing them to get themselves to safety. With more, here's Stacey Hine.
Jace was playing in his front yard when he saw flames at the house next door. The 7-year-old got someone to call 911, then ran 2 houses down to warn his neighbor, Connie Seibel, about the fire.
And me and my brother shot it together, and I went and told the lady.
Why'd you go and tell the lady?
Because it's a big fire.
The fire, which is still under investigation, broke out around 7 p.m. July 31st in Saskatoon's Mayfair neighborhood. Seibel says she was surprised to hear a knock at her door that night. It was Jace there to warn her about the fire.
He said, "There's a fire next door." And I said, "What?" And he just said, "There's a fire next door." So I went out and I looked and went, "Oh, yeah, there's a fire next door."
She says the house on fire next door was vacant, but the flames eventually spread to her home. Thanks to Jace's quick thinking, Seibel and her 91-year-old mother, who has limited mobility, were able to get to safety.
It's amazing what kids have learned or will learn or have been taught, and how automatic that they kick into action when they have to.
Others in the neighborhood were also impressed by Jace's actions.
It's just great to hear that kids are still willing to go out of their way to make sure people are safe. It's always good to know that there's still a Spider-Man looking out for the community, right?
As his neighbors recognize his bravery, Jace says he feels good knowing he was able to help. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Tonight's weather snapshot sent in from our viewer Robin, who captured this great photo of the morning fog in Mount Bridges. Thanks so much for sharing. We have sunshine returning Saturday with comfortable daytime high of 23 degrees. Rain does move in Sunday morning. We'll have some scattered showers throughout the day, but not a complete washout. The high for Sunday sitting at 28 degrees.
Retailers in Saskatchewan say there's been a sharp drop in American alcohol sales more than a year after returning those products to store shelves. With more on the business decision to restock U.S. booze, here's Wayne Mantica.
As the
The Saskatchewan government may have decided to return American alcohol to store shelves, but consumers are making their own decisions. The SLGA reports that sales of U.S. wines and spirits declined by 40% in the last fiscal year. Still, retailers defend giving consumers a choice.
It's worked out pretty well. We really want to make sure that the customer has the option to purchase American liquor if they want. We have had the wine section decreased quite a bit. There's been a lack of demand for the U.S. wines, especially the California wines, and we've expanded the Canadian wines as a result.
Declining sales of U.S. wine has prompted the co-op to reduce shelf space and allocate more for Canadian product. However, demand for American bourbon remains strong because there are few alternatives.
So we had a few occasions of customers coming in and buying a full case of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam. Those are the more popular ones. So yeah, that was a strong sign for us that the product is still in demand. So we need to keep stocking them.
In a written statement, the Saskatchewan government said it is up to consumers to determine if they want to purchase U.S.-produced alcohol. Keeping American liquor on the shelves has not won Saskatchewan any favors when it comes to Trump tariffs. Tariffs are imposed on the nation as a whole, but it could count for something when Saskatchewan producers go looking for new American customers. Wayne Mantica, CTV News, Regina.
Crews across Europe are battling multiple wildfires in the midst of record heat. In northern Italy, roughly 100 firefighters worked through the night fighting a vast forest fire threatening homes. Local authorities have reportedly evacuated multiple residential buildings as a precaution. Wildfires are causing problems in several countries, including France, Spain, Germany, Greece, Belgium, and Croatia, many of which are not accustomed to the extreme heat they're dealing with. The largest airport on the Italian island of Sicily has been closed for 5 days in a row now. It's because of an ongoing eruption at Mount Etna. Volcanic ash can be a substantial risk for airplanes if it gets sucked into the engines, causing them to stall. The mountain is also spewing lava, sending huge plumes of smoke into the air, and local authorities say there's no sign the eruption will slow down anytime soon.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A developing story now from City Hall where.
Download the CTV News app.
August 14th, 1957. Disaster in the town of Dresden. The rumble of 120 tons of heavy blue clay sounded doom for 6 workmen employed in the construction of a new water pumping station by the Sydenham River. The men had worked all day prepping the foundations. At 7 that night, the entire east wall of the pit collapsed. The men were buried alive under clay, steel, and wood. The cause of the collapse? The wall of earth weakened by water seeping through it. All 6 men were recent Dutch immigrants living in the Aylmer and London areas. 2 days after the disaster, they were laid to rest in a mass ceremony in Aylmer. To date, the event remains one of the worst workplace tragedies in the province.
Finally tonight, hands-on experience for potential future firefighters. As Kimberly Fowler reports, it's an opportunity to expand the workforce in a typically male-dominated profession.
For Ala Belisel, this isn't just a summer camp. It's a chance to see up close what it's like in a career where representation is changing.
I really like action and whatever, so like jumping out of the window, climbing up the ladder, that was really fun. But I think most of all, it was the discussions we had, woman to woman. We could ask, how was it like being a firefighter as a woman? Because it is different.
Camp Fit, or Future Firefighters in Training, brings together young women and gender-diverse youth between 15 and 19 years old from different backgrounds for a week of hands-on training with Ottawa firefighters.
There are many struggles to being a woman, especially one that's active. You always compare yourself with men and whatever. But they make you feel like it is possible. So you look up to them, like as mentors. I hope to grow up just like them.
getting a taste of what the job demands, from climbing ladders to auto extraction, forcible entry, and simulated fire calls.
When I was in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to be. So to have the exposure to see that this is a potential thing that I could do is a great opportunity.
Now in its 17th year, the camp initially started here in Ottawa to fill a need for more female firefighters.
One of the challenges that we want to make sure that we rise to is having competent people serving the public. And we felt the best way to approach that was to engage more women and more people from underprivileged communities.
And Camp Fit has become a model for similar firefighter camps across Ontario. Over the years, about 375 participants have gone through the Camp Fit program. 14 of them have gone on to become Ottawa firefighters, with dozens more fighting fires right across the country. And the camp isn't just about learning how to fight fires. It's about discovering what skills will best help each participant in the future and building confidence to achieve any goal.
Being at the camp and showing that it's possible, encouraging them to face fears and do tasks that are hard is something so special.
And I love helping people. Like, that's my passion for sure. It doesn't matter. I want to help them.
And for others, it could be the beginning of a path toward becoming a firefighter. Kimberly Fowler, CTV News.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. For all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a great weekend.